Hey guys, welcome back to the Fertility Confidence Podcast. We are talking all about what can I do while I wait for my referral. This is a hot topic for me. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I talk about this a lot. This concept of like the 12-month waiting period to get support is just it's just such bullshit. Like it really boils my blood. And the amount of times we have women that come in and work with us inside FCM and they're like, oh my goodness, I wish I found you sooner. I wish I knew this sooner. It's heartbreaking in all honesty. So we had our large event a couple weeks ago, our Fertility Confidence Bootcamp. If you missed our May session, we'll be running it again in the fall. I highly recommend you come and hang out with us in there. And that was something that I think I talked about every single day. And every day I had questions from women saying, well, what if? What if my doctor won't run the lab work? What if my GP won't refer me to an OB? Like, how do I do it that way? And the broad answer is you have to start looking outside of the box. And the sad reality is quite honestly, we have to do this with a lot of realms of medicine now. I'm in Ontario, okay? It's different everywhere. It's different across the world. The US, you have a whole slew of, private options available to you. We don't really have a lot of that flexibility here in Ontario, unfortunately. But we do have a significant amount of flexibility and support when it comes to fertility care, as long as you're willing to look outside of the box and to build your care team. So today I want to talk a little bit about how do we use this time proactively. Let's say you're in the 6 to 8 month range. You're getting really concerned. You're starting to think about this day in and day out. You're getting that pit in your stomach growing, saying something is wrong. Why isn't this working? Maybe you've gone to your doctor already and said, I've been trying to get pregnant. It hasn't happened. What should I do? And they say, well, how long has it been? Okay, cool. Come back in about 5-6 months. We'll talk about it then. Because in their textbook, nothing is wrong until it's been 12 months. 12 months. In their textbook. We cannot treat humans like a checklist. And that is the beauty of naturopathic medicine and alternative care and functional medicine and thinking outside of the box, because we aren't going to just use that checklist. And this maybe wasn't a huge issue years ago when the wait times weren't obscene and the demand for fertility clinics wasn't as high. But now we're making couples wait till they've been trying for a year, and then we're saying, okay, cool, here's your referral. And it might take 3 to 5 months to actually get into the fertility clinic that's near you. Okay, cool. Now we're talking another quarter of a year on top of that. Then you get in, and depending on where you're at in your cycle, it might be another month, 6 weeks before you can get your testing done. It may then be another month after that before you even get to sit down with the doctor and go over your testing. It could be 6 to 8 months after your referral before you're even doing treatment. Now we're looking at 18 to 20 months, 1.5 to 2 years. And you could have asked for help at the 6-month mark and been dismissed. This is why I'm so incredibly passionate about what we do and what we offer inside Fertility Confidence Method, because the reality is you don't have to wait 18 months to get support. But we just don't talk about that, right? The referral times are something that really irk me. There's a client actually that we work with in FCM that lives overseas in Europe. And she waited forever for her first appointment. She then waited 6 months between her initial assessment and her appointment to say, this is what your results are. 6 months. It didn't take 6 months to gather the data. They had all the testing, they had all the information, but they made her wait because they didn't have enough availability. They're swamped. It's not totally their fault, obviously. It's not like the doctors are just sitting around being like, I don't feel like seeing anyone today. I hope. right? 6 months. Luckily, we use that 6 months proactively, but still. So when we're talking about, okay, I want a referral, I want more support. Okay, awesome. I am not sitting here saying you don't need that referral. You should do XYZ before. No. And my clients will tell you this all the time. I am always pushing to get that referral as soon as we can, because getting your foot in the door is the hard part. But once you get your foot in the door, if you're not ready to do medication, try an IUI, move through IVF, whatever it is they're recommending, if you're not ready and the data shows us that we don't necessarily need to rush, you don't have to do anything that they say. But we want our foot in the door to get more deeper testing. We want our foot in the door to have HSG done and to look at our tubes and to get an ultrasound. And sometimes we need that referral to get a proper semen analysis. There's lots of reasons why we want that referral as soon as possible. It's what we do with that in the long run. That's your decision at the end of the day. So while we're waiting, we're going to use that time proactively. Okay. So let's say you're early on in your journey and you don't even have your referral yet. You don't have to just sit there and keep doing the same thing that you're doing month after month. That's not working. There's lots of things we can do to proactively use this time to influence your fertility success, to potentially make it so you don't even need that referral. That's the beautiful part of this, is it's not wasted time, money, or effort when we're working on your body and optimizing your health and taking that whole body approach. Because if we can get you pregnant without medication, great. That's like most people's number one goal, right? But if you do need the fertility clinic support, it's not wasted time or effort, because we're just optimizing your chances of that medication actually working better for you. Because once you step through that threshold, we're no longer having a root cause approach in the fertility clinic world. And this is another maybe rant for another time about building your care team and having whole body support while you're going through the fertility clinic process, because that's the reality. But we can do that ahead of time. Okay, so first we're going to start with looking at your modifiable risk factors. And when I say modifiable risk factors, I mean the things that we can have some control over. So we cannot control your age. We cannot control your genetics. Those are two non-modifiable risk factors. We're just going to stop stressing about those things. Why? Because we can't do shit about them. Okay? But I promise you, the list of modifiable risk factors is significantly larger than the non-modifiable, significantly larger, meaning there are so many positive ways we can impact your body regardless of your age and regardless of your genetics. Okay, so we want to start looking at these things. We talk a lot about nutrition and lifestyle. Okay, how are you eating? How are you moving your body? How are you sleeping? How are you managing your nervous system? Nutrition, movement, mindfulness, and sleep are our 4 key pillars of foundational health. We need to be looking at these 4 things because they are so deeply integrated into how your gut works, how your nervous system works, how your hormones work, how your thyroid works, how your metabolic health and your insulin works. It's so incredibly important. I was actually just at I attended a half of a conference on the weekend. I couldn't go to the afternoon portion, unfortunately, but there was a really interesting discussion about the influence of insulin resistance in fertility. We have some old podcasts on this. It's something I'm incredibly passionate about, especially because we as a company are finding insulin resistance mild to moderate in women who don't appear to have the telltale signs and symptoms. It's why I believe everyone should be, even outside of the fertility world, but that's a topic for another time. I think everyone who's trying to conceive should be properly screened for insulin resistance in a way that mainstream medicine just simply isn't doing the best job right now. But there's a really cool study about sleep and how sleep deprivation, even just by shortening your sleep by an hour or two, can actually worsen your insulin resistance, and that improving your sleep treats it, makes your insulin sensitivity better. Can you imagine taking every supplement under the sun and doing like a 75% approach on your diet and nothing changes, and you're like, why the hell isn't this working? It's probably not working because we actually have to go a layer deeper in your foundational health. How are you moving your body? How are you sleeping? How are you eating? Actually, there's so many birds flying outside my window. I apologize. I'm very distracted. How are you sleeping is something that we don't often talk about. But when we look at the fertility research, there's actually quite a few really intriguing studies about sleep and various hormones and fertility. We have direct correlations between sleep and male factor fertility as well. So let's take it back to the basics every once in a while. And this is another thing we talked a lot about in our last boot camp is we can't just out supplement a shit lifestyle. We can't just take all the pills and powders and potions and expect it to do its job, but we're not managing our stress resiliency. We're going to bed at midnight and waking up at 6 a.m. We're dragging ass through the entire day. We're relying on coffee. We have a sedentary work life, and it's really difficult to get our butts to the gym or wherever you like to work out after. But if we're taking all the pills, that should help, right? No, that's not the mentality. So when I talk about what can I do while I wait for my referral, yeah, sure. We are going to talk about something that we call strategic supplementation and fertility confidence method. And supplements play a really important and integral role if we're choosing the appropriate ingredients and dosages for you, your body, and your needs. Not everything is just a blanket statement when it comes to the fertility experience. But we don't just do that. We have to look at how are you eating, how are you moving, how are you sleeping, how are you helping to manage your nervous system. Another thing actually that I'll touch on really quickly, even though it kind of has literally nothing to do with this topic, but I think it's important. Clearly someone needs to hear this, is in the conference I was in on Saturday. I think it was during a pelvic health physiotherapist lecture, which was kind of cool. But she said something along the lines of, I don't know if it was her now that I'm saying it out loud. It was hopefully they're all not listening. She was saying something along the lines of, we all talk about, managing stress and infertility, but the reality is that the infertility experience is stressful. And I say this to my clients all the time. We cannot quite literally eliminate your stress. We can't. We can't take everything off the table, put you on, we talk about this with my clients all the time. We can't just pick you up and put you on a deserted island, wipe your memory, and be like, you are no longer dealing with infertility. You no longer have financial stress. You no longer have a shit family. You just have to sit on this freaking island and get served bonbons and enjoy yourself. Sleep all day, eat beautiful, healthy food. We can't do that. We just can't. We can't always change our environment, but we can help our nervous system respond and manage stress better. That's what we need to be talking about. And there's so much more to it than just meditate 10 minutes a day. Right? And we talk about that. I'm all for it. If that's a habit you want to get into, amazing. But if you are still living in an 11 out of 10 stressful environment and you think 10 minutes of meditation a day is going to solve all of your problems, it's just quite simply not. We need to be looking at stress in multiple arenas and in multiple angles. So that's first things first, okay? We need to look at our modifiable risk factors. We then need to make sure that you are properly tracking your cycle if you aren't already. And a lot of times when we talk about this, women come in and they're like, oh yeah, I've been tracking my cycle. I do the LH strips. I get a positive every time around this time. Like I'm all good. And I'm like, okay, cool, great. Let's just take it one step deeper. Let's do your basal body temperature. Let's track your symptoms and your discharge. And 75% of the time, we do uncover that there is something going on in that cycle that we need to address. And we need to look at the health of the luteal phase. We are finding out that they actually don't have a lot of cervical mucus and they had no idea what that was. Like these are things that we can work on before you step foot in the fertility clinic. We can learn so much about your cycle with proper cycle tracking before you even get any lab work done, quite honestly. Yeah, we want the labs, absolutely. But we can get a good gauge of where do we go from here with that information. So if you're not properly tracking your cycle, if you're relying on LH strips to tell you when you're ovulating and time your intercourse, we want to peel that back a little bit. We want to go one step deeper. We want to use a more intricate method to not only just figure out your ovulation window, but figure out what might be going on with your cycle as well, even if you have a regular cycle, okay? Because you can have a regular cycle and have too short of a luteal phase to get pregnant. So we want to get that information. And then lastly, and I think the most important thing is that you need to maybe get some support. and that is a strength and not a weakness, okay? This is something we've been talking a lot about in our team meetings, in our community, in our things, is that we need to be encouraging women to reach out for support probably 3 to 6 months before they actually are. And I think there's a lot of fear that is holding women back from stepping into that box with us. And the fear comes from, what if it doesn't work for me? I've already tried everything, so therefore there's nothing else I can do. My partner's not ready, so I'm just going to wait. These are all fear of, what if this is never going to happen for me, right? And sometimes our brain likes to keep us safe and says, well, if we believe it's never going to happen for me, it's just better for us to not try anything different because I don't want to feel like a failure. I want to just, keep doing what I'm doing, and therefore it's okay. I'm safer. It's safer to continue on in your daily routine than to try something different. It's safer to not evolve, right? Like, there's so many ways we can have that conversation. But the reality is that women are reaching out probably about 3 to 6 months later than they should. And we're losing time. The longer you let the fear of, is this going to work for me, win, the harder it potentially can be to support you. There's lots of avenues of support out there. You don't need to wait for your doctor to give you a referral. You don't need to wait to get into the fertility clinic to learn what's going on with your body. And you certainly don't need to wait to get in the fertility clinic to actually support your body, because the reality is they're not going to take that whole body optimization approach that needs to happen. I felt incredibly angry on Saturday when I was in this conference. We were looking at one specific study, really, 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 really cool stuff coming out about the microbiome, and just the world has changed so much in the last 15 years around what we believe with reproductive health. And I think it's going to continue to change. And I'm really excited to bring some of this information, not just into FCM, but into the podcast as well. I'm percolating, and I'll definitely bring a sweet episode on that. But we were reading this one particular study that showed how testing the microbiome of the uterus and treating to cure and rebalancing out that good positive bacteria had significantly better positive outcomes in IVF, significantly better, huge drastic changes. And I was almost in tears thinking about every single one of my clients who has had a failed IVF transfer, and thinking, what if it was that freaking simple? What if it was quite literally just an imbalance of bacteria, and we're not addressing that? They're not testing it. They're not looking at it. They're waiting until you've had 3 miscarriages or 3 failed transfers before they're using these more advanced procedures. And I just think that's heartbreaking. So we're finding ways to integrate these types of testings and things with our clients up front, so that we know what we're dealing with, and we're not leaving anything potentially on the table. And when we're looking at research for fertility, just so you know, because that study was done in IVF, and most studies are. So we have to take the IVF research and we just apply it to IUIs and women who are trying unmedicated, because we don't have a lot of research in unmedicated cycles. Women aren't, signing up for studies in that realm, but women doing IVF are. So we need to look at that data and kind of apply it to other populations, which isn't ideal, but it's the way we need to do things right now. So I digress, but what I was saying was there's lots of avenues of support out there when you're ready. One of them being explore what it's like to come in and work with us. If you've been listening to the podcast for a long time and you're like, oh goodness, we get emails all the time of people saying, Kelsey, I would love to work with you. How does that even work? The first step to see if you're a good fit is to go and just learn a little bit more about us and what we do, okay? So I'm going to pop a link in the notes section, but if you go to downloads.kelseyduncan.com/results, you'll watch a really beautiful video that I think will speak to you. And if it does, I highly encourage you to schedule a call. The calls are completely free. We're going to get to know you a little bit better. And then my team will walk you through what are some of the things that are coming up for us in this call that we need to work on moving forward. If FCM is a good fit to help you take that next step and you're interested, they'll walk you through what that looks like. And if not, we'll help you to find a referral, a resource, something to help you move the needle forward. Okay. So like I said, the support is important. If that's coming in and working with us, amazing. If it's not, find that somewhere for yourself. Okay. Find someone who has a good handle on the research, who has a level of expertise that you can trust moving forward to guide you through however your process kind of unfolds with you, okay? So what can I do while I wait for my referral? You're going to be proactive. You're going to work on the foundations and the modifiable risk factors. You're going to learn how to properly track your cycle, and you're going to get that support that you not only desire, but you absolutely deserve. And I'll see you guys in the next one.